So now we're going to take a look at the actual book now, Teaching Chunks of Language. And this methodology of teaching chunks of language is what's known as the lexical approach. The lexical approach was a move away from a grammar-based syllabus to a vocabulary-based one, with chunks of language arising as a key need to teach. But students and teachers are often left mystified with this idea, right? Students don't know how to learn them, and teachers don't know where to begin teaching them. What are they going to do? Teach everything? No, of course not. So this book, Teaching Chunks of Language, addresses how to go about bringing the lexical approach to the classroom. And it's divided into 4 parts. Part 1 is the introduction and how to use this book. And in fact, I stole the future will reveal and time will tell stuff from the beginning of this book. So it has a lot of interesting ideas about what chunks are, how to use them, and how people learn them. Part 2 is basic chunking teaching activities, initial steps towards memorization. And what this section does is it gives adaptable activities for use with any chunks of language. These activities show how to introduce your students to language chunks and become aware of them. But it doesn't focus on any specific chunks. It allows you to choose that. Part 3 is teaching sets of chunks, helping students remember these chunks. And in this section, it does actually give activities that have suggested chunks to use. For example, if I look at the table of contents here, we've got things that smell. Not with the deodorant. Things that make sounds, like Tanya's laughter right now. Weather phrases. Device idioms, idioms from card playing, idioms from seafaring, horse idioms, body idioms, and boxing idioms, and so on. And I think you had something to say about the horses.
I was going to say that, although, yeah, exactly. Because I looked
She likes horses.
I do, actually, yes. But no, I was looking at those activities as well, and my initial thought was, idioms with horses, how applicable is that? But in fact, it's incredible how many idioms and expressions and chunks of language come from horses, because obviously they were so important to us a long time ago before we started using motor cars. So, motor cars?
There's a chunk of language you don't hear every day.
Yes, those newfangled machines we see outside.
I am a driver.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry. Yeah, so way back when horses were way, way, way more important to us than they are now, obviously that established a lot of language. And so it's interesting how it's still very much alive today in the idioms we choose and in the chunks that we use. So I thought that was quite interesting. A lot of the language in this section is actually really, really common, high frequency, and very usable.
Yeah, and of course, though, even though it does give you that high-frequency, very useful language, you can adapt the activities to use whatever chunks of language you happen to be using at the time. And then there's part 4, which is reviewing and quizzing. Obviously, that is something that gives a number of activities that are designed to review chunks of language taught earlier in previous lessons, obviously. So what we're going to do is try a couple now. I've taken a couple of activities from the book so that you can get a little sample of what to expect in the book. And first we're going to try out activity 2.6, which for those of you who already have the book will be very useful. But those of you who are going to buy it later, this is for your reference. This activity 2.6 aims to get students to become familiar with and start to memorize key chunks of language. So let's pretend that I am the teacher and you are the student. And I have posted on the wall a passage about a crime, and I want each of you to go up to it, read some of it, and go back to your seat and write it down. And if you forget, then you can go back up to the wall, read some more, go back and sit down and write as much as you can. For you who is actually attending this, obviously you can't go up to the wall, so I'm going to show you the passage. And on your notebook, I want you to take a look at the passage, remember as much as you can, and write it down on your notebook. And then I'm going to take it away. And then I'm going to bring it back so that you can have another look at it. And then I'm going to take it away again and bring it back, and so on and so on. Okay, so here we go. I'll give you I don't know, 30 seconds? Go. If you're confused right now, what you're doing is reading this and writing it down. And now it's gone.
So keep writing, see how much you can remember.
And I'll bring it back now. So now you're actually going back to the wall to take another look.
In your mind's eye.
Well, everyone's very imaginative. They're teachers, after all.
True enough.
Okay, you think you got most of it there? Okay, so goodbye.
It's so quiet.
You'd almost think no one was here. And we're just talking to ourselves, but I know that's not the case. Okay, one more look. And 3, 2, 1. And it's gone. Okay, so keep writing, and when you've written as much as you can remember, raise your hand, please. Noshir is the first to give up.
She might have completed.
No, I know.
You cynic.
I'm just kidding, Noshir. I'm just having fun.
Just being funny.
Yes. Lillian is now finished as well. Natalia is finished. So don't feel bad. Siri is done. Wendy is done. Oh, a whole slew of you are done, actually.
Excellent.
I will give you another 10 seconds to finish up as much as you can. And raise your hand. "12 out of 18 of you have raised hands, as a matter of fact. Okay, so whether or not you have completed it or not, that's okay. Here's the whole thing again, so you can check to see whether you were right or not. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at everything that's in here and identify for me what you think the chunks of language are that I am targeting with this passage. So if you think you have a chunk of language from here, then please type it in the question box and we'll see if you're right. As an example of what not to do, officers in Toronto is not a chunk of language. Let's see if you can find some. Okay, so we have a few people saying perform a miracle, given up hope, a string of crimes, apprehended by police, another string of crimes, conduct an investigation. Oh, there's a whole bunch.
Excellent.
Good job, guys. Ready to commit arson, cause havoc, give up hope. Look at you guys go. Apprehend by. Good, excellent. Okay, so some of you have gotten the idea of what it is I'm looking for, but a lot of you have chosen chunks that are actually chunks, but they're not the ones that I'm targeting in this lesson. So if you chose performed a miracle and conducting an investigation and commit arson and finally cause havoc, then you're right. There's the 4 that I'm actually looking for.